In conversations with my partner, how can I deal or react in the moment? This is just in the second, in the moment, when something bothers me. I know we're trying to practice, your teaching, but when it comes to in the moment there, that without even thinking or feeling it, it's the reaction.
Well, a sort of knee-jerk response to things. First we want to say, don't beat up on yourself about it, and don't beat up on her either. You do it to each other. Almost everyone does. Because when a moment culminates, what it really is, when two people are having an experience and they're sort of having an uncomfortable moment together, that is co-creation. What it really is evidence of the vibration that the two of you are putting into the mix. In other words, what you're thinking and feeling and what she's thinking and feeling have erupted into this. But there's much more than just what you're thinking and what she's thinking, or what you're saying and what she's saying, or what you're doing and what she's doing. It's the relationship that each of you have with who you really are. In other words, you could be tuned in, tapped in, turned on, having exactly the same conversation, or hearing or seeing her doing exactly the same thing that's been bothering you, and in your alignment it wouldn't bother you. It's like when you see a baby learning to walk, you never say, as you watch it tumble down again and again, "Get up, you little dummy." You understand that there's a process of learning and gaining balance. And yet when in a relationship, when someone seems to be the catalyst for your awareness that you're not in alignment, it makes you mad at them. That's the most interesting thing. If you're ever angry with anybody, it's always for the same reason. Something about this relationship in this moment has made me aware that in this moment I'm not being who I really am. That's all. That's the only reason that you ever feel bad about anything. You're not being who you are. You're not being who you are. You're not being who you are. Yeah, I know, and it's her fault. We say, well, you can continue to blame it on someone else, but you're not being who you are will always feel uncomfortable. So when you say, what can I do in that moment? Understanding that helps, and trying to laugh about it helps, and telling it like it is helps, in the sense that here we are, both of us hanging out there on the raw and ragged edge, neither one of us connected to who we really are, trying to frame a relationship. No possible way of having a success under these conditions. Maybe we should take a break from this conversation, and one of us at least, maybe two, but one of us at least, I choose me, get into alignment, and then we can resume. But most of all, don't be hard on yourself, because remember, the creative process, which you are always in, is a three-step process. Step one is the contrast causes you to ask. Step one. Step two, source becomes what you're asking for. Step three, you have to line up with who source has become as a result of your question. You have to line up with your solution. You have to line up with the answer to your question. You can't be in step one and step three at the same time. So is step one a bad step? Is it wrong to have contrast? Don't you want expansion as a result of this relationship? You certainly do want expansion as a result of this relationship, or the relationship cannot be long lasting. And so as you have this expansion within it, what you could say, as your very pertinent question, what do I do then in that moment? Stop and say, we're having a step one moment. In other words, this contrast is evoking desire within both of us, and neither one of us, especially me, you could say, is in a place of lining up, because I'm so steeped in the question I cannot find the answer, but I will. In other words, there's the question, and then later there's the aligning with the answer. And what happens so often, and it's happening here a bit, it happens with almost everyone on almost every subject. When you really want something like a good relationship, and you care about having it, you've dreamed for it, and you've worked on it, and you both want it, and you really want this good relationship, And in this moment, you're having evidence that you don't have a good relationship. In fact, it's an unpleasant relationship. And then the question keeps coming, what's wrong? What can I do? What am I doing wrong? Why doesn't this work? Why aren't we getting along? Why isn't it getting better? Why can't you hear me? Why doesn't it improve? Why do you keep making it all about me? And so as you keep staying in step one, step one, step one, step one, step one, do you know, you heard us talking earlier about, and it was one of our favorite things that happened today as we were beginning early on, and we were talking about walking into a room and how you vibrationally observe a room. It's more than what you see and hear and smell and taste and touch. You're observing on vibrational levels, and that you cannot vibrationally interpret anything anywhere that's not close to the vibration that you are offering. Esther couldn't find her pen because she was caught up in the vibration that it's lost, and in that belief, the presence of the pen, even though it was right there, could not reveal itself to her. She was blind to it. So in the same way, we really want to emphasize that what you see with your eyes is a vibrational interpretation. And scientists, people would argue, they would say, no, we all are seeing similarly. And we say, when you walk in, you could do a test where you put 100 people or 10 people or 5 people or 2 people in an environment and put them in quickly and then ask them what they see, and they will see different things, and they will not, either one, see all of the things that are there, because you only see what you are vibrationally privy to. So as you're having this relationship and you are having a moment in time where you are feeling discord about something, understand that that discord is setting up within you a question that has an answer that you, in the beating of the drum of the question, don't have access to, because the vibrational frequency of the question and the vibrational frequency of the answer are different vibrational frequencies. Don't you love knowing that? Instead of clubbing yourself about the head and neck for not being able to get it. I don't get, where is it? I want it. Where is it? I want it. I want it. I want it. Where is it? I can't find it. Where is it? I want it. Where is it? I want it. As you keep that active within you, you can't find it. So that's why, what a good question. What can I do in this moment? In this moment, chill out. It's a step one moment. Don't try to make it more than it is. This is a catalytic step one clarifying moment for which I have no answer, because this is a question moment, not an answer moment. But we'll find the answer, and we'll find it later, and we'll find it fast, and it's okay. And I love having this contrasting moment, because gotta have step one before I can have step 2 or 3.
It's just a matter of just remembering that even though this was on guard, we just have to remember, let's talk about the first step before we start feeling negative.
Well, even in the first step, and there's sometimes a negative emotion erupts in the question. In other words, you can't be in the midst of something that you don't want without asking for what you do want. And it's right that the negative emotion would be there. Just don't freak out over it. Instead, acknowledge that it is part of the process and that it will get better. We talked yesterday to some extent about a sort of magical, it isn't magic, but it will feel like it, sneaking in the back door. It isn't the back door, it's the front door, but it feels like sneaking in. Approach to fast, deliberate, satisfying creation. And what it is making peace with step one. In other words, not only making peace with it, but fully embracing it, acknowledging the incredible value of a step one moment, appreciating step one. In other words, so if you really get that, you could say in the heat of an argument, I love you for this hateful way I feel.
It's so hard to say something like that.
Well, it sounds like a contradiction, but what you're really saying is, we got a mess going on here, but I love a step one moment because I know that it's clarifying on so many levels. It's pointing out vibrational differences, not just vibrational differences between you and me, vibrational differences between me and you and you. It's pointing out vibrational differences. In other words, we got something going on here. And it's a good thing that we've got something going on here, because our relationship cannot improve if we don't keep asking for more. So that's a wonderful way to approach and drop a knockdown argument. Here we are, doing what we do, expanding our desire.
Regardless whether our culture are totally different, you know, it just doesn't matter.
Well, it's easy to understand if you are culturally different, religiously different, if you have different ideas of right and wrong. It's easy to understand how hard it would be to sort things out. But we talked about this earlier today. If you use any criteria other than your personal aligning with you as your quest, then you'll be upside down and all around. In other words, it's possible to, you don't have to be or even want to be identical to everyone else. To love another is not about anything that they do, and it's so hard to hear that. To love another is about being in alignment with you who is love, and when you are in alignment with you who is love, then whatever you are giving your attention to, you don't feel the resistance about it. But if you believe, as so many people do, that my happiness depends on what you do, and it's not my job to come into alignment with love, it's your job to come in alignment with every little thing that my culture taught me was the right thing to do, then you got to read books on the history of my people so that you can become the person that I need you to be, so that I can feel better. And as soon as you read those books and become it, there'll be something else that the other one needs from you, because that's looking for love in all the wrong places. But when you come into alignment with who you are, so you're tuned in, tapped in, turned on, those cultural differences go away, because there is a much deeper culture within you. There is the culture of alignment. There's the culture of the God force that is within you. There's the culture of love and self-sufficiency. There's the culture of worthiness. There's the culture of being who I really am. And when you're tuned into that, then you are not just tolerant of all other cultures. You are appreciative of them, you see. Source doesn't pigeonhole you. Man tells the story that way, but it's bogus. Source doesn't pigeonhole you and say good people, bad people, blessed people, bad people. Source tunes in and loves across the board. It is man who distorts by pigeonholing and using thing after thing as excuse to separate himself from who he is. It's a wonderful thing when people from different backgrounds come together with a common denominator of wanting to love each other, who are willing to blend through experience and collectively come to new decisions of desire and then line up with desire. You create a whole new vibrational race, so to speak.
That's wonderful.